Hey guys, I'm here with Stephen Benson. How are you, Stephen?
Great. How are you, Matt?
Excellent. Where are you located, by the way?
I am in San Francisco, California, in North Beach, actually.
Okay, could be worse.
Well, yeah, it's been rough weather around the states here the last few weeks, but not in California.
Were you actually born and raised in San Francisco, or where are you from?
No, originally I'm actually from Chicago.
Okay, a little bit colder, isn't it?
Little bit.
Yeah,
A little
so
bit.
closer to the weather we have here in Montreal.
Yeah, yeah, very similar actually.
Great. So I'm gonna tell people watching this a little bit about you. I have an intro here. I'm gonna go through. Then I have a few questions for you, and then it's gonna be a pretty short interview, but I'm definitely glad that we're getting to do this and that people will have a chance to get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I look forward to it.
Awesome. So Stephen Benson is the founder and CEO of Badger Maps, and it is the #1 route planner for field salespeople in the Apple App Store. So after receiving his MBA from Stanford, Steve's career has been in field sales with companies like IBM, Autonomy, and Google, becoming Google Enterprise top performing salesperson in the world in 2009, which is really impressive. In 2012, Steve founded Badger Maps to help field salespeople be more successful. He has been selected as one of the top 40 most inspiring leaders in sales lead management. So welcome to the Business to Business Sales Geniuses show.
Awesome. Well, I'm really excited to be here.
Awesome. So the first question I have for you really is, what's the key to increasing, your sales team performance and efficiency in the field?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things you can do to help increase a field sales team's efficiency. I guess the first it's unique to every individual sales team. The first thing I would do is look to see if there's certain people on a team that are doing really well at things, whether a skill set, presenting, closing, finding new leads, whatever step in the whole sales process. I like to look for people on the team who have really dialed it in and are really, maybe they're senior, maybe they're new on the team, but the people who are really successful, and I try to identify what's making these guys successful, and then empower them to teach the rest of the team how to do that. And that's a strategy that I've seen be really successful. I actually picked that up from a sales manager I had at Google who really had an eye for figuring out and digging in on why someone was really being successful in their given role. Now, in field sales in particular, there are some areas that are not really intuitive that may be drivers of why they're being unsuccessful. And one of those areas is are they being efficient with their time in the field? Are they focusing on the right customers? Is their day being spent getting in front of the right people? Are they being wasteful with their time just because they're not laying things out, laying their week out and their schedule out in a way that makes sense geographically? And those are the problems that I probably spend the most time dealing with myself, just because that's what Badger, the company that I started, does. It helps field salespeople be efficient with their time in the field, focus on the right people, build out efficient routes. That's an area that I spend a lot of time focusing on.
How can sales reps better organize and manage their sales territory?
Well, in terms of organization and managing the territory, the key thing is to figure out, do I have enough leads that I'm talking to? Do I have enough business coming in the door? Do I have enough, am I spending enough time with current customers that are important so that they keep buying from me, so they buy more in the future? And really balancing your time and your schedule appropriately across the right people. The key challenge is for a field salesperson as opposed to an inside salesperson is that they not only have to do this, they need to do all those things, but they also have to do it given geographic constraints. If you're driving, to this suburb, for example, you have to focus on, well, who's important out that way around, like if I have a meeting set at 10 a.m. and another meeting set at 2, who's on the way to the 10 a.m. meeting? What can I do in between? Given that I'm going to be out there in between the 10 and the 2, who's around the 2 and who's on the way home, and kind of planning out meetings with the right people in advance and knowing who is where, and really packing your day And you see certain reps really be organized about this kind of thing, and they get in front of more customers, spend time in front of the right customers, and end up getting more deals as a result. And that's that's a key piece that we've kind of tried to enable with software and an app on their phone to let them do that really effectively.
What would be some key sales metrics that you would keep track of to constantly improve and track performance?
Well, I mean, the obvious one's revenue, of course, but also I think it's important to think about what are the key metrics that are associated with success on your team? Because for an inside sales team, maybe it's generating great leads and then making the number of phone calls made to those leads, and that's actually kind of two metrics. Like, are you generating good leads? How many good leads are you generating? And then actual phone calls and getting in front of those leads would be a different metric. But you can make phone calls all day to the wrong people and not get anywhere. Just like if you're a field salesperson, you could do drop-ins all day on the wrong type of customer, and you wouldn't get anywhere. If you were selling organic beer into a new market, and you as a field salesperson, this is someone that I was talking to just the other day, so it's top of mind for me. You'd want to make sure that you were going and selling your beer to the places that are most likely to have customers that want organic beer, and that's some kinds of restaurants way more than other types of restaurants. Like maybe it's a salad joint way more than it's a steak joint, and so knowing how to generate leads by getting in front of the right people is really important. In the end, it's all about looking at your sales team and trying to figure out who is the most successful, where are people falling down, and making sure you're measuring the things that you want them to actually spend time doing.
And what do you look for when you're hiring for your sales team?
That's a good question. I think a lot of managers are very biased towards experience, more biased than they should be, really. I think it's because making a bad hire is one of the worst things a sales manager can do, and gets them in trouble, and calls their job into question. Because we're a smaller company, and I'm no one can fire me, so I'm a little less risk averse when it comes to hiring people. And so I tend to weight experience a little less, because an experience is one of the best things to look at, really, if you're trying to reduce risk. Just because if they've done it successfully and done it before and done it in the same industry, good chance they're going to be successful again in the future. But I don't just look at experience as much as a lot of people do, because I think, it's especially here in the Bay Area, it's a very tight hiring market. Some great salespeople are in high demand, and so I've been known to look at other types of people who don't have the same experience levels that a lot of companies would insist upon. And so in those cases, I'm looking much more for an ability for someone to connect with a customer, the right kind of work ethic, the right communication skills, that's and really an openness and ability to learn and be coachable. Those are the key things that I think I'm trying to figure out if someone has when I interview a salesperson.
What's the key to motivating your sales team so that they really perform their best?
That's a good question. I mean, obviously, comp plans are an important part of motivating a sales team, but I think it's less about having an aggressive compensation plan where, if they don't sell a lot of stuff, they make nothing, and if they do sell a lot of stuff, they make a ton. I think that can be one way to pursue, and certainly in the software industry where I am, that's a very common strategy. I feel like the best way to motivate a team in any part of the organization, but sales included, is not just that, but to really help people understand why what they're doing is so important, and help them understand their role in the broader organization, and really create a team, and have them understand this is the goal of the team, and the zoomed out, what you're doing is important because of this. So the most important thing to our company is to acquire new customers and keep current customers happy, and show them value. And here's why your role is important in that overall goal. And I find being mission driven like that is probably more motivating than just the money. And if someone's just motivated by money, they're probably going to be jumping around a bunch anyway, and looking for the next best thing in their career regardless.
How do you usually prepare for a sales call?
How do I prepare for a sales call? So it's funny. I give a whole speech on this. So the I think the keys to preparing for a sales call is first knowing the customer, knowing who you're going to knowing who you're going to be interacting with, who you're going to be talking to, and knowing as much about their business and them as you can, so that you can understand their problems quickly and effectively, and map your product in the conversation to that person. The more you can discover before the actual meeting, the better. Having a pre-call can be a very effective way of doing that, especially if it's going to be if it's a complex sale and you've got different people in the room, and one's kind of really the person that's pulling for you and your product. That person who's kind of your sponsor, they very well may be happy to have a quick phone call with you before the meeting, before they bring you in front of these other people that they're kind of vouching for you in their organization. They're vouching, oh, I think this person's product could be a good fit for us, guys. We should have this meeting. That sponsor, they'll be happy to chat with you and tell you, hey, this is what's important. This is who's going to be in the meeting. This is kind of where they're coming from. This is why we're here. And you can ask people, so why are we talking today? And sometimes you get to do this kind of pre-meeting before you actually have the meeting, so you can walk in having prepared for it. But other times you can, if that wasn't an option, you can even do that right in the beginning of the meeting, and you can and then just adjust on the fly. But asking them, why are we here today? What really drove you guys to want to have this meeting? What was the reason that you wanted to do this? And it's important to spend that time listening to the customer and really figuring out what's important to them. If you do that well, then the sales call can go a lot better.
Should you be leading really those calls and initiating and saying, here's why we need it, or really asking them is a good strategy?
What's more important, to lead the customer in a sales call or to listen? And I think you want to do both. Up front, you want to listen, especially, and kind of really figure out what direction to take the call, and understand what their problems are, what their pain points are. And then from there, once you develop an understanding of really what's important to them, you can start leading and showing them the value. You can say, hey, this, I understand this is your problem, and here is our solution, and then here is the benefit of this solution. And if they agree that this is the problem, and they agree that this solution would solve that problem, and that this would be the benefit, and you can really quantify that benefit, then a lot of the sale is already finished, right? So how would I do this in my case, right? I might say, okay, so you have a problem with your field sales team not focusing, not being able to kind of organize their time in the field. And we have this product that helps them figure out who the most important customers are in a given geographic location, and then build a route and a schedule for their day. And so what I do, now I'm outlining what we do. And the benefit of that would be that the benefit of using this product would be that they would get two more meetings a day, and their meetings in general would be with more focused people, the best people that they should be meeting with. They'd find more leads. Let's quantify what getting 2 more qualified meetings a day would mean for each of your sales reps. So, well, that's 25% more meetings. And if sales are correlated with meetings and your sales went up 25% per rep, what would that be worth in a year? Oh, each rep makes $400,000, so that now they'd make $500,000. That's an extra $100,000 a year, 25%. So this is worth $100,000 a year per rep. How many reps do you have? 10? Oh, okay. So that's $1 million a year that you would make. Well, if we agree on all those things, if we agree this is your problem, this would solve that problem, and this is the benefit, then very clearly $1 million is more than the $35 a month you're paying per rep for our product. So it'd probably be a good idea. And that's the example of how I would do that with my product. But you can really do that with any product. If you've explored and truly understand their problem, and you can map your solution to solve that problem and show how you can do that, and then get them to quantify it, the value of the solution, you've kind of got the sale made.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay. So, and my understanding is that in the beginning you want to listen more, and then once you really understand their problem, then you can start leading more and saying, okay, let's do the math and see what the impact of this would be. Do you agree with this solution, etc.
Yeah.
But you need to start by listening, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to understand them and understand their problem and understand why you're having this meeting in the first place. And that's the great question right there, right off the bat. Why are you looking at this? Why are you taking your valuable time to chat with me today? And they'll usually just tell you, and they know why, right? And then you can go from there.
It's an interesting perspective because normally the first meeting will probably be set up by the sales rep, right? And the sales rep is going to initiate the meeting, or maybe in some cases the client will actually ask for, will request, a sales rep to call them back or someone to call them back, and then.
Mm-hmm.
But the meeting typically, I'm assuming, is set up by the sales rep. But I find it's a really interesting question to ask them: why are we doing this meeting? Mm-hmm. And for them to frame the discussion and basically tell you why they like your solution or why they have which problem they have and why they're looking for a solution, right?
Yeah, and I guess there is some risk here. I mean, I could get on the phone with someone, or one of my sales reps could get on the phone with someone, and they could say, "Oh, because I wanted to buy some apples," and I'd be like, "Well, we don't sell apples. Are you? Did you think we were an apple salesman?" They'd be like, "Yeah, I wanted apples. I'm hungry and I feed horses apples, and that would be a problem." But in general, that's not going to be the case. They're taking the time out of their busy day to talk to you for a reason, and they'll probably tell you what that reason is.
Sounds good. Okay, and the last question I had is, what's the best way to follow up with prospects?
I think right after you have a sales call, you want to send an email to follow up. You want to thank them for their time. You want to lay out, here's what I'm going to do next. Here's what I'd like. Here's what we agreed you would do next. And you want to come to an agreement at the end of the meeting. Who has what next follow-ups, and then you can re-outline that in the follow-up email. And this is a place where after that is done, this is a place where a lot of sales go to die, right? You have to, a lot of sales don't keep getting pushed downfield because it can lose steam, it can lose momentum, you cannot be a priority. And a lot of deals, a lot of sales don't happen not because someone chose another product or another service. They just happen because it wasn't a big enough priority for them to do, and so they just don't do it, right? And that's follow up and keeping top of mind and being a priority and knowing how to reach out and reaching out with value instead of just reaching out asking for things is a way that you can kind of keep the momentum and not lose things. So what do I mean when I say reach out with value? So when you reach out, you don't just say, "Hey, wanted to follow up. How are things going on your end?" Instead, you reach out and it's, "Oh, here is that report that I got for you. You gave me the data last time, and here's what I've done with it. Your team was trialing this out, and so and these are the results of that trial." You're always giving them things and then asking for next steps. It's never just touching base. It's because people tend to ignore those emails. Things tend to lose steam. But if you reach out and give them something, even if something's relatively cold, if you reach out and offer them something and say, "Oh, hey, here's some analysis that we did about a business that's similar to yours, and they used our product and got this result," that can kind of help you become top of mind and help them realize, "Yeah, I really should take a look at this. I know this is important. It's just number 10 on my to-do list right now. Maybe I should make it number 3. Maybe I should bump it up here." And that's really the goal, is to have your project be one of the few projects that actually gets done so that the sale occurs.
Do you usually recommend systemizing that follow-up process, using a CRM system or something like that, where you have a few steps that you want to go through to stay top of mind and then value?
Yeah, I guess it depends where something is in the sales cycle. If it's kind of still on the marketing side and you're not engaged in the sales cycle yet, then yeah, I think you can really have a relatively cookie cutter drip approach. Once you've had a meeting with someone and a salesperson's engaged, though, that's one of the reasons we have salespeople, so that they can really customize the communication to that customer's needs and to their interests. So I think it's harder to kind of systematize and just give a random drip campaign. One strategy I have seen work well there is after a rep kind of goes through the customized follow-ups and like something's kind of falls cold a little bit, to be able to kick that back to marketing onto a different type of drip campaign, and that's kind of sends them valuable information and trickling out over time, and hope and waits for them to kind of re-engage or be more ready. Um, an area I see people fail here is just not picking up the phone, to over rely on email. People's inboxes are real full and they get inundated in things, but sometimes if you reach out and you can, they can see who you are when you're calling them. That's right on their phone, and if they wanted to talk to you, they'll pick up the phone. And so it's worth, staying top of mind by being someone who reaches out. Field sales, I mean, a lot of our customers, they just drop by. They drop that, most of our, I mean, almost all of our customers are field salespeople, and they will just drop by prospects and swing in and keep top of mind like that. And that is the best way to do it in a lot of circumstances.
Would you say that's generally recommended to just drop by your clients? And does that apply to a lot of fields, a lot of industries, or should you be careful?
It depends on the industry. It really depends on the industry, right? If you're selling to doctors, or if you're selling wine to restaurants, yeah, you just drop by. If you're selling, if you're selling servers to a CIO, it's probably really hard to just drop by and get in front of them. But if it's, if you're selling water filtration systems to offices, there's a decent chance that if you show up at the door, the office manager that was kind of running that purchasing cycle, good chance they're in the office, and good chance they're talking to you, and you can just be like, oh yeah, I was in the neighborhood, and brought some donuts in, and wanted to just catch up on where things are at. We talked about this a month ago about how you guys wanted to do this and replace your old system with this one. Just wanted to check that out. So it depends on the customer, and depends on the sales cycle, and depends on what you're selling, that determines if an actual drop-in is appropriate.
Okay. Any last words? Any call to action that you'd like, the members of the BGG community to do? Would you like them to check out something, Badger Maps? Any other call to action?
Sure. I mean, if they do, anyone out there that has field salespeople, I would definitely encourage them to check out what we've done at Badger Maps. We've created this field sales system that is pretty inexpensive and really very effective to helping field salespeople do more and accomplish more when they're in the field. Just when you're talking to one of our field sales, when you're talking to one of our people who, our customer service people or anyone, just let them know that you found out about us through this podcast, and they'll apply a 2-month free credit to the account, just as a little gift to your listeners for enduring my voice for the last few minutes here.
Thank you so much. Well, that's a really good call to action. I appreciate it. I appreciate the discount or the offer. And well, listen, Stephen, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. I know we had limited time. I appreciate you taking the time to do these questions, answer these questions, and so to give us a chance to get to know you a little bit better.
Excellent. Well, it's been really fun to be here. I appreciate you having me on.
Sounds good. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks.
Cheers.